You know what? This hearing is actually the best example of what waste, fraud, and abuse looks like, because the only reason we're having this hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate. And I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States. Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo, like, yes, I'm going to double down and say it's my thing, but I'm going to make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them. So with that being said, Ms. Perryman, I'm just curious, and this is yes or no. Is Trump's name ever mentioned in Project 2025? Yes or no? Just yes or no. I got you. I got you.
Within the document itself,
yes.
There are a number of references to the former administration.
So is Trump's name mentioned just one time?
I believe it's mentioned more.
Okay. 5 times.
I haven't counted.
Oh, okay. Well, if I told you that his name is mentioned approximately 312 times, would you have any reason to dispute that?
I don't have any reason.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's interesting that we want to try to pretend. We're not going to pretend in here. We're going to work with facts and not fiction.
Yo, when Jasmine Crockett gets the mic, whatever right-wing sham is on the docket at the moment goes down the drain.
So here's the bottom line. Absent major reforms, Vice President Harris's $42 billion program is wired to fail. It's time to correct course. Get rid of all the extraneous political goals and focus on quickly connecting Americans.
And I'm actually going to talk about Texas, because I believe that the testimony has been somewhere around the fact that no money has actually been disputed as it relates to rural broadband. I'd also ask for unanimous consent to admit this article from the USDA.gov. USDA officials attend groundbreaking to expand high-speed internet access in rural Texas, dated March 7th, 2024, Italy, Texas.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much.
With respect, that was not the testimony.
Oh, I thought you said no dollars had been spent.
The largest single program.
My question is, did you not say
$42 billion.
Okay.
0 houses have been connected. There are other federal programs, including Trump-era ones, that right now are turning dirt and connecting.
Okay, so just to be clear, because I don't want the American people to be confused, because I was confused, because it almost seemed as if, considering the fact the name of this hearing is the failed policies, as if nothing had been done. But to clarify for those that are watching, you aren't saying that no dollars have been spent as it relates to rural broadband dollars under the Infrastructure Act, correct?
To be clear, for the signature effort, $42
yes
billion,
or no? Have any dollars been spent?
not a
$1.
single person has been connected. That's
not my question, though. My question was, have any
issues. Senator Ted Cruz from
Okay,
Texas
I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. I'm reclaiming my time at this point.
Many of these bills,
I'm reclaiming my time, which means, Chairman, I'm going to
per
ask you to stop my time, because the witness is not.
Are you asking him a question, or are you?
No, I'm not asking him a question. I reclaim my time.
All right. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
Okay, now I was at 41, y'all, so go back up.
We'll give you 9 more seconds.
Okay, thank you so much. Here's the deal. You've testified a lot about the problem with the broadband rollout being diversity, equity, and inclusion. You said DEI, I don't know how many times, which is one of the issues that Project 2025 takes issue with. But it's interesting to me because I have another article from the Texas Tribune, and it actually specifically states that internet providers say they are simultaneously hopeful and skeptical about whether the incoming federal dollars will be enough to connect the most underserved Texans. Historically, other federal rural broadband funding programs have seen limited success because many companies who committed to providing broadband went into default after radically underestimating their cost. It doesn't say anything about diversity. And the final thing that I will say is that this election, I didn't ask you a question. The final thing that I will say is that this election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified black woman that is on the other side. And with that, I will yield.
And this wasn't the end of FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr's total humiliation.
I respect it takes a lot to put yourself out there to come and testify in front of Congress. And I know that some of this ground has been covered before, and I really do appreciate the transparency that all of you have brought about your backgrounds, about your positions, and about your perspectives on the policy issues. But just to kind of put it all in one place, I want to quickly go through, and I'm going to mostly state it. I'll ask some questions as we go. Mr. Carr, I know you've said this has been asked and answered several times, but just, going back, we know you're currently serving in the FTC. You've been serving there since 2017, since Donald Trump appointed you, and you are the author of the FCC chapter of 2025, Project 2025, correct? It's just a yes or no.
Well, so just to be clear, the
yes, you are. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr.
chapter you
Krikorian.
reference was done in my personal capacity
Yes.
after
The
getting
answer is a yes. Yes, Mr.
clearance from the
Krikorian.
FCC ethics council. I just want to clarify that wasn't in my official
Mr.
capacity.
Krikorian, you serve as the ED of the Center for Immigrant Studies. You are also on the advisory board of Project 2025. Your organization has been actually designated as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Dr. Hobbs, thank you for your service to this country. I understand you're a veteran and an academic. I do very much respect your background and your work. You're involved in the Independent Women's Forum, which is also involved in Project 2025. You've had a number of authors and contributors from the Women's Forum that are participants in Project 2025. And Ms. Gunasekara, I know we've already covered this, but you're a former chief of staff for the Trump administration at the EPA, and I think you've been very clear about your role in drafting the EPA section of Project 2025. So I think it's very clear this hearing is actually about Project 2025. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for unanimous consent to enter the entire Trump Project 2025 into the record so that the American people can have it at their disposal for reference for this hearing.
Very good. I don't think anyone on this side's ever read that, but apparently you all have, so we'll enter it into the record without objection. So ordered.
Thank you so much. And again, I just appreciate the transparency of this particular committee, because last week, right after the debate, we tried to enter it into the record in the House Natural Resources Committee, and 3 members on the GOP side of the aisle actually objected to putting it in the record. And I have to say, we were genuinely shocked, because I've never seen an objection to a UC to put evidence in the record. But it was very clear in that hearing that the GOP was trying to distance themselves from this document. So, I think it's interesting that we're here today where we've got the authors of the document, and I just want to say welcome to the American people to your campaign stop on the Donald Trump campaign. Here we are in the Oversight Committee, and we've got a bunch of former Trump and current Trump officials. We've got authors of Project 2025, which is the blueprint for the next presidential transition. And the last stop for the Trump campaign was the House floor last night, because Donald Trump asked the House GOP leadership to put a CR on the floor that they knew was not going to pass, that had a voter bill attached to it, and then he told everyone to vote against it. We've seen over the last almost 2 years how leadership has used this committee essentially as a campaign resource. They tried to impeach Joe Biden, they tried to impugn his family, and now here we are, and we are just 48 days, 47 days until the election, and now they're trying to attack Kamala Harris and use the resources of this committee and to platform future Trump administration officials and their agenda, and to try to normalize what are frankly very extreme policies. And we heard from one of the witnesses today that, in fact, not only do they support dismantling our federal government, but would support doing even more damage than was done during the Trump administration and even what is recommended inside of this book.
Pretty much everything in Donald Trump's life is completely collapsing and spiraling out of control. His legacy, his businesses, Trump's stock continuously every day, that's going down and down. His election chances are pretty much over now. He basically has no chance of winning this election at this point. And one of the most interesting things about the debate last night that I really picked up on is how profoundly more intelligent J.D. Vance is than Donald Trump. Despite the fact that he has a bunch of ridiculous stances and he's a shallow person and we can't trust him, He's just so much smarter than Trump. Donald Trump is legitimately one of the dumbest people in all of American public life. And millions of Americans follow him blindly and have made him into a cult leader. He's literally their God. And he's one of the dumbest people in the country. He's one of the most undeserving people of such devotion. He's old. He's stupid. He's never been a macho man. He's never been a real legitimate ladies man. He just takes it if he wants it. He doesn't really resemble or give off any of those quote unquote alpha male traits that his followers say that he has. And you would think that somebody who's going to be an aristocrat, somebody who's going to be a quote unquote dictator would at least be younger, at least be stronger, maybe a military man. No. This is Captain Bone Spurs. And the shtick is up.